Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a lineup construction video for the 2020 PGA Championship. Hopefully you're with me during the DFS preview show as I talked about course information. We kind of even did a flyover to determine, what shot shape is necessary on most of these holes. Intent, it's a right to left ball shape. We've even heard a lot of the pros on tour that are playing here talk about that. So it would be beneficial to have a right to left shot shape. I went over tournament history, recent form, 2019. We reviewed the 2019 DK page, looked at all the golfers with top 20 stats, and then kind of correlated that. And we tried also looking for some trends, bring it over to the 2020 DK page, and see who our favorite golfers were. Now, in these lineup construction videos, what I like to add is a bucket system, which is unique to me. I created it myself. Salary tiers, but I'm not going to so much tier them by salary. I'm going to tier them by buckets and then add the salary theory crafting to it. We'll look at time pairings and just overall construction theory. So let me go ahead, bring up the spreadsheet. That way you don't have to just look at my face. If you haven't been here before, welcome. I appreciate every new viewer, every new subscriber. I appreciate a lot, and I also appreciate those that keep returning, listening to this. I do like to think I provide a unique way in really honing down on a player pool and targeting the right golfer. I will create a bucket system video out there highlighting the successes of the bucket system. That way, it's just not hearsay. You guys can have proof. Look at the numbers and analyze it yourself. But for the time being, actually, I forgot this in the DFS preview, and I almost forgot it right here. I'm going to remind you guys, if you've been here before, you know what's coming up. I want to remind you can watch us in a faster speed. If you're on desktop, go ahead, drag the mouse over the screen. You're going to find a gear icon somewhere down here. Drill down on that. You'll find playback speed. I prefer 1.5, but if you were to choose 2 times speed, you'll cut the video in half. And I have no idea how long this video is because I just run this live all the way through. In mobile or on mobile, you'll find that top right-hand corner, 3 dots that make a vertical line. Drill down on that, you'll find playback speed. I will also have timestamps in the description. Okay, let's go ahead, get into this. So this is the bucket system. And what you see are 2 tables, top 5, top 10. What does that mean? Well, it's top 5 for last year finishing positions within these ranges. How it reads is in 2019, we had 3 golfers that finished top 20 the year before. That's how it reads. So that's how all the last year reads. Last week, you can figure it out. It's the week before. Over here in these 2 columns, we see a sum of how many golfers throughout the years fit into these buckets and the percentage that it has happened. So 44.12% of top 5 golfers since 2014 had a top 20 finish. That's how this looks. And likewise, 52% of top 5 finishers had a finishing position the week before as a top 20. So those 2 stats are pretty remarkable. It would be best to actually kind of create your lineups based off that. So if you're new, what does that look like? Let me go ahead and throw up the 20 DK page. It would be these 2 columns here. Last year bucket, last week bucket. And 52% of last week ones have finished inside the top 5. Well, no. 52% of top 5 finishers were golfers who had a last week finish inside the top 20. So we could do that. We could sort that right here. You can see all the golfers that had a top 20 finish last week. And basically, we could think, I'm pretty positive that someone from this group is going to finish inside the top 5. So right there, you can look at these 20 golfers, grab 1 or 2 of them, and cast the rest out. This is where you can actually really narrow down. Look at the salaries for these golfers. I could do this. This would be a little easier if we went here and here. So we can look at the salaries. You could choose between those 3 golfers, or maybe you choose 2 of those golfers and go with them. I'm going to probably start with Webb and Hideki, most likely. I might even add a Xander Schauffele here and there, or add these 2 together, or add a Xander and a Matsuyama, or a Brooks and a, I could go any way. I don't really have to do the 1-1s. There are plenty of last year 1s, and having this bucket combination, although it's a very positive and very popular one, I don't have to have that in my lineup, but I might as well do it. That's why I like Webb Simpson, is because he is not a 1-1. He's a 4-1, and I get to pair him with a lot of pretty good 1-1s. So that's kind of how this would look for a new person coming into here. So that's for the top 5 bucket. I like to use the top 10 buckets, primarily because it gives us a bigger sample size, a bigger pool of players to look at this, because now the numbers either become a little bit more polarizing or rounded, watered down, which is exactly what happened here with the last year bucket. Is it got watered down. See, 44 and 20% changes into 35, 15, but then 2 buckets actually pass that 15. So that's why these numbers here on the right, this is my rank. That's why these numbers are a little different. But yeah, I like to use this. By far, if you really wanted to target golfers, nearly 70% of your player pool could be last week 1s or last week 2s. You could even bump that up to 100% if you think those are the only 2 buckets. Or, it isn't a bad way to actually, again, narrow down your player pool. So if we looked at, we already have this sorted by last year 1s. I can scroll through all the last year 1s. We have 24 of them. Last year 2s, there's going to be a few more, because those are golfers who did not play the year before, or the week before, I should say. 150, well, no, 79. Out of these 79, you could basically remove a bunch of them. We have a bunch of club pros here that I'm just not going to trust. I don't care. I'm not going to play a single club pro. I don't care if that comes to bite me in the butt. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to play. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it probably has a less than 2% chance. Well, yeah, most likely less than 1% chance. That's what it ends up being with the odds that any of these guys are going to win the tournament. So I'm not going to go with any of those golfers. So you can actually remove a bunch of them. I can probably start from here and go up. There might be a club pro in here somewhere that I'm not positive on. I don't really care. But going up to all of the 2s here, that changes that to 54 golfers. And you could create, there's a way to create a lineup just using these golfers and then the last week 1s. But I'm not gonna get too deep into that. I just wanted to show you guys what that looked like. Furthermore, like, I look at all the bucket combinations, so I have that all sorted here. We're not really going to talk about it here, but when I scroll down and I look at golfers inside the top 5 and top 10 with these bucket combinations, you can see a 1-1 happens 10 times. It has happened 10 times dating back to 2014. That's 29% of top 5 finishes were 1-1s. That means last year 1, last week 1. Now, in 2014, we had 4 instances. So you cut 4 or cut 3 and just say we have 1. That still leaves you with 7, which is double more than any of the other. So last year 1, last week 1 is going to be huge, and we're going to see them on the top of the leaderboard. Likewise, top 10. This is going to be watered down. Now the 1-2 kind of the last year 1, last week 2 gets a little bump up, and if you wanted to kind of figure out what kind of last year 2 you wanted to play, you have a bunch of options here. It's pretty darn close. Between a 1-2, a 3-2, 4-2, and a 2-2. I wouldn't so much care for 5-2s, but you can see 5-2s are down here. You don't see 6-2s up there. So yeah, you could really go with any of them. Now, when it comes to last year ones, last year one, last week one, very much on top. Then it's last year one, last week two, last year one, last week three. Then we don't really see them until last year one, last week five. So if we're playing last year's, it's to pair up with the last week 1, 2, or 3. We're not doing anything else, which is funny or interesting because if I sort by salary again, Rory McIlroy is a 1-4. So that in itself is kind of a conundrum to me because I really like Rory McIlroy. And if I wanted to go all in on the bucket system, I wouldn't play him in that many lineups. But his natural shot shape is a right to left shot shape. So it really plays well here. And I know he's been working on hitting a straighter golf ball. Now, last week's results did not look good. He had a 47th place. It didn't look like he was really that much into it. So I don't know what to do with Rory McIlroy. I like him. He has a shot shape. He's got the he's got all the intangibles to win. But bucket system alone, not very good. Okay, so wanted to show you the percentages. I know some of you guys had posted how much you like seeing these percentages next to these numbers. So this is actually new. I have not added this. This is the first time adding it. So hopefully you guys find some things interesting. Now the next piece of what I like to do is look at salaries. I should say this. Let's go back to here. Just keep in mind the buckets and what we want to play. Obviously last year one, last week one, or I mean last year ones and last week ones, determining or not really dependent on what the opposite bucket is. Those are ones that we want to play. I mean 3 2s and 4 2s actually show up too. So keep that in mind. And the last week two are golfers that did not play last week, which there are a bunch of. So just keep that in mind. When we look at salaries, this is a little bit deeper than what I've done before. So you can see this is the finishing position over here. And then the salary next to each player next to the finishing position. I cut these up only because it's just easier when I'm working with formulas to find the top 5 over here, the count, and then the top 10 as well. So when we look at this, when you look at the winner each year going back to 2017, which is all I have stats for with DraftKings, 8,900 and above wins this tournament. And then when you look around the leaderboard, it's a bunch of expensive golfers. You know, top 5 is just packed with golfers over the DraftKings average salary, which is 8,300. But it's really looking at first place and seeing what we can add to that salary in order to make an optimal lineup. I think you could just do it with these. No, that's 51,700. But yeah, you could switch out some of these. That's 80 or that's 50,000 on the button, right? It's just interesting to look at, you know, these 5 golfers. That's 42,900, so I could do something like this. That ends up working out. That's a bit too much. That's still too much. Maybe 86 we take out. That works. That's 49,900. Or you just take that out, add these two. 47,900. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but either way, we're gonna look for a golfer that is over 8,500 essentially to anchor our lineups basically. And when you look at the last year ones, you know, on the salary leaderboard, so over 8,900, we could start with DJ, Patrick Cantlay, Xander, Rory, or Brooks. And then obviously if we want to get the last year ones out of the way, Brooks, Xander, and DJ fit that mold. So very interesting to think about when it comes to that. But yeah, with salaries, I don't like to really so much look at the salary itself. So like we can see in top 10s, 6,700 ends up being the best salary, or the salary that has found the top 10 the most. I am more or less looking at like 67 added with 68 and 65, trying to find how many golfers sub 7K have finished inside the top 10 and kind of grabbing from that. We can also come over here and look to see how many finish inside like the top 5 and how many times. So it looks like, you know, so 6,700 to 6,800 have finished inside the top 5 plenty of times. So I guess why don't we just look at golfers in that 67 to 68 range. That starts with Rory Sabatini and goes down to Rafa Cabrera-Bello. Now, the first thing that I'm going to look at, here I can make it a little bit better. The first thing I'm going to look at, I suppose maybe the best thing to look at would be like official world golf ranking, just to see how good those golfers are. However, I'm probably more or less interested in finding the last year one and seeing if it's even worth playing. But yeah, we can look at, sorry about that, let me bring it back. 68 to 67. We could look at the official world golf ranking and determine who we want to play. Like Bernd Wiesberger, 29th in the world. I mean, it's really up to you guys. What do you guys like looking at? Like, I don't think I'm gonna roster any Rafa Cabrera-Bello. I might roster some Keegan Bradley because this course fits his shot shape. I think even Lucas Glover, this fits his shot shape as well. I believe he does draw the golf ball. Probably not a Cam Smith. I don't like the bucket, but I also don't think he draws the golf ball. Luke List, I believe. Oh, I think he fades the golf ball. Anyways, I mean, we have 3 or 4 golfers that, you know, kind of fit the mold that we like. Obviously, Keegan Bradley's one of them. Lucas Glover's another. Kind of want to just add Luke List just because. And maybe Dylan Fratelli. But we can also look at tournament history, because that is one of the stats that does show up quite a bit, or at least it did for 2019, which just leaves us with Lucas Glover and Keegan Bradley. So maybe those are the 2 golfers we go with, honestly. Or we could grab all of these golfers and just play them once and kind of randomize their range. So 68, 67, we shall see if the 4th year in a row happens that, you know, that salary range actually finishes inside the top 5. I'm not that big into it. What I would say is I would grab anyone between 7 and 6'5" is what I would do. So if I find some golfers that I absolutely like within that 7 to, you know, really like Richie Werenski as well as Christian Bezuidenhout. But if I were to grab any of these golfers here, basically I'm going to be looking at the bucket system, which there aren't many last year ones. I'm going to look at even the top 20 stats over here. How, like, Corey Connors has the most out of this whole bucket. Russell Henley is next. I really do like Russell Henley. If you saw him in the preview video, he showed up a bunch of times in the stats that we were looking at. Emiliano Grillo also shows up, as well as Richie Werenski. So really, we could grab 2 of these golfers if we like them. I'm going to probably just fade Corey Connors since he's a 6'3". We don't see a lot of last year's 6s show up inside the top 10, so I'm going to actually just live with that. So really, it's between Christian Bezuidenhout, Richie Werenski, Emiliano Grillo, and Russell Henley. But I'm forgetting to add Keegan Bradley to that as well. So, you know, those golfers, probably mix them interchangeably, might work out pretty decently. Okay, so that's enough. I'm not going to really talk more about the salaries. You can obviously see how often a salary has finished inside either the top 5 or the top 10. And I can scroll down so you guys can see the rest of it. Now, I also created this over here. That way you can kind of see the numbers. And I suppose what I could do is basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a formula to give you a percentage. I do know a lot of you guys actually like that and don't really typically type this slow, but my keyboard is underneath me. So if you're interested, that is how you create a percentage off of a range of numbers that you have right next to each other. So you can see right there, I'm just like going to scroll it all the way down to here and then just delete. That way I can have it down here. Oh, that didn't work. It's 58 to, I mean, you kind of already know that these, I don't need to add this. This is 66.6, this is 33.3. Anyways, so you can see kind of the percentages of golfers that finish inside the top 10. Average salary 82.44, which means you want to leave some money on the table. Because if you were to use all 83.33 of DraftKings dollars, I mean, if not all of them, but if you were to average 83.33, that means you'd be using all 50,000. So it shows the trend. Don't use all 50,000. But most winning lineups are around that 50,000. Minimum salary 6,500, maximum 1110. It basically just says don't go lower than 65, which I couldn't agree more. Unless you can find someone really good value down there under 65. Which, I mean, I like Keith Mitchell. You know, there were a bunch of 3-2s that showed up inside the leaderboard. I mean, this is just adding to it all. I think even Tiger Woods is a 3-2, so I don't know how I feel about that. Wyndham Clark. There's a lot of really talented golfers down here. So is this the first year that someone under 6,500 is going to finish inside the top 10? It's possible, but stats would show that it does not happen ever. But yeah, you can see the rest of them. I mean, 7 to 8K, 30%. Maybe that's how you create your lineups. You know, 30% of your player pool are golfers between 7K and 8K. 22% are below 7K. And then the rest are kind of sprinkled here. That's not a bad way to think about creating lineups that way. Hopefully you have some kind of lineup creation tool that allows you to see that type of number. You know, if you actually wanted to, if you wanted to reach out, I can tell you how to do this. I do it all the time. Not using this, but using the bucket system. I use all the time. So that is the bucket system. And what I ended up doing is actually creating, based off of buckets, the sweet spot number. I basically grabbed a lot of key stats, weighted a bunch of key stats, and that alongside the bucket combination, and that's what gave me this number over here. The highest rated golfer for me was Hideki Matsuyama, followed by Xander, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay. I mean, you can see the rest of the golfers. Really don't get to a 6K guy until Harold Varner III. So in a way, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab all of my last year ones. If I were to tally up all the last year ones, it ends up being 204, which is totally fine, because if we look at all the last year ones, you know, we go back to like the top 5, only 1 year did we see, you know, last year ones not show up more than once. So I like that quite a bit. There's a possibility this happens again, but if we were to go down to top 10, we see 3. Now, you know, this could be 3 golfers of 10K and above, and then you couldn't fit them on a lineup. But we have 2. 2 is our min. So again, we could have 2 that are 11K and above, which wouldn't really help us when it comes to creating lineups, like forgiving lineups. But I mean, like if we went to 2015 and looked at the golfers, we could probably figure out what we would think their salaries are. So that'd be here and Brooks. And now Brooks in 2015, I I don't think he really. I think this is when he kind of became a decent golfer. Not, he was always a decent golfer, but this is when he became an household name. Maybe. I don't think he would have been over 10K at this juncture. Jason Day would have been though, for sure. Now I played DraftKings when Jason Day won. Matt Jones was the guy who killed me. Yeah, so I played, just didn't have the spreadsheet. I wasn't doing the spreadsheet at this time. Okay. So, I mean, there are salaries to actually see. So if you have the ability to look it up somehow, I mean, you could see how much Brooks Koepka costs at that time. Actually, yeah, I do remember. Now that I remember this whole year, I remember Brooks being a Titleist guy. I was at this tournament, and I yelled for Brooks to turn to Team Nike. Kind of did one of those douchebag things like, turn Team Nike. Got him to look though, so that's something. Maybe it was me that was able to get him to turn to Team Nike. Probably not. It was probably already in the works, and he's like, oh, well, he's got a surprise in store. Anyways, when it comes to last year ones, so Brooks may have been fairly expensive then. I don't think he was. I bet he was around 9K. Jason Day would have been like 10K. I don't mind going in. Now, I have to watch how often I'm playing some of these guys. But like the sweet spot percentage tells me, is only telling me to play Brooks in 9 lineups. Rory in 21, Xander in 26. So we got to watch how many times those golfers like overlap, basically. A good way to actually avoid doing that is only grabbing these golfers with kind of a higher price, bringing them over here to the lineup construction page, and just copy and pasting them all the way until they reach their number of desired lineups, basically. Now I could also go like, we want to play Hideki in 33 lineups, so I can scroll down here, go to the 34th line, that's 33. Look at Xander, put him in 26 lineups. The only issue with doing this is I will have absolutely 0 Xander and Hideki lineups if I keep it like this. So in all reality, what I do want to do is kind of mix it up a little bit. But again, I have to watch how many times I'm pairing up some of these higher priced guys, because it's not going to leave me with any really salary flexibility. So, I mean, I could come down and do this. This system's telling me not to play any Brandt Snedeker. I don't disagree. Like, I don't want to play any Brandt Snedeker. So I'm going to paste this twice because Mike Lorenzo Vera, or Mika, can't remember how you pronounce his name. He is a Frenchman. He's only in here twice, and actually all the way to Luke List is only in here twice. And then I would paste this one more time, or copy and paste. So Matt Kuchar was here 3 times, as well as Shane Lowry. I will probably play a little bit more Shane Lowry than that. Matt Wallace 4 times. I know this can get a little monotonous, but I don't mind doing it this way. And if you have kind of a quick trigger finger, you can figure this out. Sweet Spot's telling me to play Jordan in 6 lineups. That seems a bit odd. I'll probably play him in a bit more. Eric Van Rooyen in 7. Ches in 9, so I'll paste that twice. That way I can remove Ches and Brooks. Abe Answer in 11. So now we can get rid of Abe. And now it's Adam Scott and 6 more. 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that 6? Oh, we can always go backwards until we get to the last one is Abraham. So 1, 2, so it would be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Patrick Cantlay in 1 more, 18. And then Rory in 3 more. DJ in 1 more. Xander and 4 more. Then how many more in Hideki? 7. That's 6. And that's 7. Okay, so what I would do from here, sorry that took a little bit of time, is if you didn't know about this function within Google Sheets, you can randomize the range. So I can hit this as many times as I want, doesn't matter. What I'm actually doing is I'm going to scroll down to line 101, and from 101, or I should say 102, I'm actually going to cut and paste. So this is actually going to get wonky over here, but I'm going to cut and paste and bring it up here. So now you can see, like I said, it gets a little wonky, but I can clear that up by filling it in. Now, again, if I'm creating 100 lineups, now I kind of overfilled or overflowed right here. What I could do is, again, grab all of this and then maybe, you know, sort the range once again, or come to a certain number. So if I wanted, you know, sometimes we want only just one last year one, maybe I would go up to like 91. So now there's 10 that won't be in here. And then I can paste that right there. Again, this gets a little wonky. We can fix that easy. Look at this. So what I'm gonna do is basically grab this, randomize it a couple times, go down here and randomize this as well. I mean, it's not that big of a deal how it looks or whatever. I'm gonna leave it like that. I can see what my minimum price is up here and my maximum left over, and having 7,000 open is awesome. So those are all my last year ones, and like I have a few that are all, you know, by themselves. Now my duplicates should actually show up, and for whatever reason they're not. Oh no, all of them have the reference thing. I wonder why. It's because I was cutting and pasting. That's why. Okay. Okay. So that happens every once in a while. What I have to do is actually go and just copy and paste, not cut and paste, which is, it is what it is. Not a huge deal. That way it'll show me duplicates now. Yeah, that's the other missing piece. So basically that's what I could do with the last year ones. And I actually don't mind that. So that's kind of just going over the lineup construction when it comes to let me just clear this out really quick so I don't have to think about it later. I think it went to one more. And then yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay, so I can again randomize the range. I don't really randomize it. Okay. Well, one more time. So then when I can go, I can look at all these different duplicates and try to figure out how to avoid them. Oh. Rory Hideki Matsuyama lineup, kind of like that. Bunch of Xanders here. With that, I can just do something like this. Randomize this whole range and see if we can get to 1. Not bad. think what I'm going to do is actually copy and paste that right there. There you go. Again, I can see the minimum price up there. I can see the minimum. I can see the maximum as well. A 1 in 4 chance to stay there. Oh my god. What? Since I know I'm just going to move it there, we can do this. Perfect. Okay, so 68.33 is what's remaining. And I'll fill in these with the rest of the buckets. So, tedious sometimes, I understand, yes. I can also actually include the entire pool if I wanted to. Now, we can do things this way, or what we can do is basically find a bunch of golfers that we absolutely like. So, when we look at something like this, where it's like Hideki, we want to play him in 33, we could actually double down on this and play him in 66% of our lineups, which means the golfers around him, we just wouldn't play. If I were to actually create a core, it would be Rory. Let's see, it'd be Rory, Webb. I'd probably put Xander there. And this isn't really a core to put together, but this is what I would actually add. Yeah. So this is how a lot of my lineups probably would start with these guys. Oh, gotta add Justin Rose and Abraham Answer and Jordan Spieth. Probably gonna stay away from Tommy Fleetwood, which I don't know how I like because he is a right to left ball shape golfer. Probably staying away from Sung JM. He's a fade type golfer. And I should say this: I'm not going to absolutely avoid all fade golfers or left to right golfers, but I definitely am going to put more emphasis on right to left golfers, like a Matthew Wolff. I won't lie, when I come down here, I really didn't look too hard in golfers down here. I did like Doc Redman. And in a lot of ways, this comes from being here on the DFS preview show. We went through a lot of these golfers that I liked. I'm going to go ahead and copy those over here. So really, I'm going to add more than that. That's not enough. Harold Varner showed up a bunch of times. We'll add Harold. I really don't have a lot of last year 2s, but we can add them somewhere in here or from here. I do like a lot of these golfers, by the way. Chez shows up 9 times. I already have him since he was a last year 1. I don't have to look at any last year 1s. They're already added. Forgot about that. So Lucas Glover should be up here. Either way, I'll just keep him there. Same with Abraham Answer and Jordan Spieth. That's right. We're just creating player pools. I'm sorry. Let's see here. I do like Shane Lowry, so I will add him as well. Man, there's not a lot of 2s that I absolutely love that I like. Bryson, John Rahm, I like those guys. When it comes to these lower priced guys, not so much. I guess what I would probably do is look more at recent form or tournament history, I should say. So even like Matt Kuchar, who is already in the player pool. I do like Harris English, but that is mostly based off of just what I like. I mean, if we went to 2019 and looked at some of these guys here at the top, what was their main, stat? I think like Luke List is really the only oddball. Everybody else had great tournament history. And obviously like Matt Wallace only had 1 start here prior to, which means, his 19th average finishing position is just 1 year's worth of data. Yeah, none of that looks terrible. Recent form wasn't really that indicative. I mean, Matt Kuchar 87, Rory McIlroy 10-9, 11-1, and 10-4. So we don't even have any cheap golfers that have good recent form to tell us, what to choose from. If we were to look at, Luke List, what were his top stats? It was tee to green off the tee. Sung Kang had 0 top stats. Eric Van Rooyen didn't have enough starts to actually have stats, so that's why his is empty, but not why Sung Kang's is empty. Matt Wallace had actually 2. He had around the green as well as tournament history. But if you were to take that one finish out, then obviously he just has around the green. He's a very good golfer. He is a world-class golfer. We could always look at odds, but like you have 250 to 1 a bunch of times. I really don't know how to think about what to think about that. Fantasy point per game maybe, or even like value. Coming down to 7K, finding golfers that score over 60 points, maybe that's worth it. I guess if we do that, what do we see? So we're looking for over 60. Matthias Schwab, Brennan Steele, Doc Redman, even Ryan Palmer, Dylan Fratelli, Cameron Tringali. Like there's a bunch of golfers here that are over 60 points per game. Can't say a bunch, but there's enough. Lonto Griffin at 65. Taylor Gooch at 64. Sebastian Munoz, Robert McIntyre, Carlos Ortiz. A lot of good golfers on Nick Taylor even. So a lot of golfers down here with 60 points or better. Obviously their value is pretty decent. That's really the only thing I can see for the 6K golfers that have any kind of correlation with each other as to why they're up in the top 10 leaderboard. But basically, I think what we want to do, if we went back to the notes page, looked at the salaries, we really just want to find a lot of 7K golfers, maybe 6K. Add with the 10, can't do 11-1, but we can do 10-9. That it would be 49,900. So 2 10K guys, followed by a couple 7K guys and a 6K guy. I think that's pretty doable. I mean, that's very similar to kind of what we've already panned out. And we could do that several different ways. We could go with like a Matt Wallace. We could anchor our lineups that way. There's really endless possibilities. So really what I'm going to do, what I've looked at, so when I look at the 2019 DK page and we sort by result, I see 2 last year 4s. One's 11-1, one's 8-2. And really their stats that show up were tee to green off the tee. If I were to kind of look at that same thing for 2020, we're looking for last year 4s that have that same thing. Off the tee to green. Let me open this up. So you see the 4s over here. So we're looking at off the tee to green. Really the only person that shows up is Harold Varner. But if we were to choose, one or the other, we have tee to green for Webb Simpson, off the tee for the other. So it's not really what I was getting at with this. What I was trying to say, or where I was going with the last year 4s, is more or less by salary than stats, but stats worked out for DJ and Patrick Cantlay. So one is 11,000, one's 8,000. If we're to follow that trend, you could do a 97-83. It's very similar, or 87 or 97-84. Or just skip that in completely and just use these 3 golfers as your kind of interchange. They could just take up one column. So if I went to here, they could just take up this column and just force them in, all these lineups here, randomize their lineups where they're in, and go that way. Actually, I would want to include Justin Rose as well. So maybe it's a Webb Simpson, Justin Rose type of thing, just because salaries are going down a little bit. I mean, that's one way to look at it. I actually do like creating lineups that way. It gives me a little bit of direction. It might not be the best direction. Like, I'm not gonna lie. That type of stuff is more trend worthy than it is actual exact science. But it's fun. I really do like going by the buckets. Buckets are definitely the better way for me to determine success. You look at the salary leaderboard for the 2019 DK page and just look at, you know, first place, 10-4, fourth highest salary. Second place was the second highest salary. If we were to follow that same logic, second highest is Brooks, fourth highest is Rom. You know, maybe we do something like that. Maybe we go with a tea time like that, or a split like that. Now, this isn't their time. This is obviously, I think this is my time, or this is Eastern time. I forget where I got this from. This is shouldn't be looking at. This has to be East Coast time. My assumptions, which is annoying. I didn't realize until right now. I have to figure that out, and then I could probably just -4. If you didn't know that, you can do that with time. So like, probably create a new field at, I'm not gonna, it's fine. I don't need to show you. I'll do it right here. Why did that not work? You could just go -4. All right, well, whatever. I'm not gonna waste you guys' time. Bummer. 4 seconds. All right, well, I'm not gonna waste your time. But there is a formula you can actually do and just minus the time, and it'll take the hours off for you. So here are my plays. I kind of already provided the player pool over here, but I really like Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, Xander, Webb, J-Day, Ricky. These are interchangeable. Actually, J-Day, Ricky, and Justin Rose. Those are interchangeable golfers for me. I like Hideki Matsuyama, who is not interchangeable with those guys, but pretty much in that salary range with them. I do like Spieth. I like Abraham Answer. I like Shane Lowry. I do like a little bit of Adam Scott, but not a lot, basically. But yeah, I would say that would be my core, and then I would just sprinkle in some of these guys down here below that we kind of already talked about, so you can kind of see who they are over here. Russell Henley, Keegan Bradley, Lucas Glover, Emiliano Grillo, Doc Redman. I think that's enough. So this player pool of mine, 17 golfers. I don't have any last year 2s, which is kind of frightening. I guess, what are the best last year 2s? Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Tiger Woods. Underneath that, they're not bad golfers. I like Ryan Palmer. Let me go ahead and put Ryan Palmer in the mix. I mean, I can look at tournament history. So Martin Keimer, Kevin Kisner, Patrick Reed. Gosh, Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau do not have good tournament history at the PGA Championship. Probably would much rather just go with like overall bent grass, which I've highlighted all the golfers I think have good. Richie Wierenski, Ian Poulter, Byung-Han An, Sungjae Im, Sergio, Patrick Reed, Tiger. Obviously, John Rahm has to be up as well, right? Yeah, John Rahm, the best one in the field. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna leave it at. Kind of gave you my full list of players that I absolutely like. None of them have Justin Thomas in them. I do like Justin Thomas, and what I'll end up doing. So I will most likely figure out who I'm going to play and who I'm not going to play. Like, I'm not going to put a lot of Justin Thomas lineups in. I might just create 4, maybe less, you know, but I will start with like I will handcraft a lineup. And then with that lineup, what I will do is throw them into a winner take all. Just so if they do hit, I'm going to win big, basically. I'm not sure who I want to play, so I'll let the randomizer choose for me. There you go, Jason Day. So I'll start probably something like this. I don't know exactly how I'm going to work it out, but oh my gosh. This lineup is looking pretty good. Can I put a answer in there? I don't remember his price. Nope. We put Doc Redman in. Now we're kind of jumping down too far, but that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. So leaving 600 on the table. 2 last year threes, whatever. But yeah, we could do something like this. Yeah, I can't put anything else in there, but either way. I would put, so like the golfers you haven't really heard me talk about, John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, I could do the same thing. And like I could have, you know, 4, 5, 6 total lineups of golfers I'm not going to play. Or of pivotal golfers that I'm not going to play, adding them with golfers that I absolutely do like, that are in my core. And then entering those into max winning lineups just to hedge myself, basically. So any of those quarter games that are winner take all, that's what I would end up doing. So that is basically, gosh, I totally forgot about Time Pairings. It's so caught up in creating lineups that I forget to do that. What I will say is it's probably best, especially on the West Coast, to pair these golfers up based off of, I guess, what we could probably consider here. What I'm trying to say is splits. On the West Coast, with the weather being as volatile as it is, I would say grab PM and AM stacks. So golfers who are golfing in the morning versus golfers who are golfing in the afternoon. We can see there's a big gap between 12 and 3. So obviously this is where the start of our PM golfers are, or evening, Thursday PM, Friday AM. It might be worth it to grab 6 golfers of each stack and just put them in, you know, 2 lineups each. So you have 4 that are covered in case weather is bad one day, like one part of the day where the other group isn't going to get hit, you know, something like that. But here, let's go through really quickly some of my favorites. I like Scotty Scheffler. I don't like that he's paired with any of these guys. So I'm going to just put red, just a light red. This just indicates I like him, but he's not in a group that I like. Patrick Cantlay, our first kind of decent group. I like Patrick Cantlay. I don't really like anyone else in that group. I know it's weird to say with Tony Finau and Danny Willett, but I just don't. I like this group quite a bit. I like this group a lot. So let's go ahead and put a blue or a green little check mark there. Jason Day is playing with Mark Heimer and Jason Duffner. I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. I mean, I do know how I feel about it, and I don't like it. This group actually is pretty solid. I'm going to do that. Xander, Daniel Berger, and Steve Stricker. I don't think this hurts Xander, but I'm also not going to care much about these two guys. Morikawa, Stenson, and Johnson. Zach Johnson. So a bunch of ball strikers here. I don't care, honestly. Tyrrell Hatton, Glover, and Cauley. I mean, I like Glover, so why don't we just add that as a green group? Let's see, we got a lot of Koepka, Woodland, and Shane Lowry. What an interesting lineup that, or it just actually kind of throws me off of Brooks even more. I might just create like 3 lineups with the different combinations of these guys and just call it good. That might be my only Brooks lineup, honestly. I don't like Cabrera Bello. I do like, where was he? It went down a little too far. Ooh, this group right here. Solid group. Super solid. DJ, Justin Rose, Jordan Spieth. So in the lineups that I did, like DJ with Rory, I might as well just throw Jordan Spieth in with that. This is an insane lineup. I almost feel like the math is wrong. Rory, DJ, Jordan, and Ricky, and I still have 7,100 left over. That's gross, honestly. So who do I put? Like Lucas Glover? 7,400? Who fits that? Who fits in 7,400? Any of these red guys up here that I highlighted? That Guy Scheffler. Perfect. Couldn't love that lineup anymore. So anyways, that's what I'm going to do is anytime that I see a group that I like, I'm going to be like, okay, where is he? Where's Lucas Glover? Let's add a Tyrrell Hatton to a Lucas Glover lineup. And really, yes, just do a find Lucas Glover right there. And just put Ty Hatton, boom, right there. Doesn't make life difficult. Just works out. So basically, that's what I'm going to do. Let's go through more of these lineups. Rory's playing with Tiger and JT. Obviously, that's going to be a lineup I'm going to highlight. Wiesberger, no. Don't care. Interesting. I'm going to put this like yellow, like caution. I don't like it. Abram Ancer's playing with Schwartzel and Joo Hyung Kim. Don't like that one for Honest Abe. Don't care. Decent. I'm going to put orange next to this. I'm going to put orange next to Reeve. Reeve and Corey Connors. Zach J. Johnson, I don't care for. Harris English, Mackenzie Hughes. Just going to kind of scroll through this as quick as possible. Oof. Interesting lineup. Don't care for this one that much, but still decent. Matsuyama, Hovland and Fleetwood is a pretty decent lineup. So I would actually add Fleetwood on some of my Matsuyama lineups. Like that, just this feels filthy. How is this possible? It has to be wrong, right? My salaries have to be off. DJ at 9. Hideki at 8-2. Fleetwood at 7. Okay, never mind. Yikes. That's insane to have something like that. All right, whatever. Crazy. Crazy. Bryson, Ricky, Adam Scott. Okay, well, wherever I see a Ricky Fowler lineup, I should just add Bryson DeChambeau to it. Like, is there any of these up here that have Ricky in them that I can just go boom? Sure can. Okay. And they played well together during the WGC event, so I think there's a little bit to that. There's our guy Keegan. I'm not sure how I feel about his pairing. Rom, Sergio, and Phil. That should be fireworks. Simpson with Paul Casey and Ian Poulter. That's a very interesting lineup. I don't think I will pair any Webb with Paul Casey, but Webb with Ian Poulter, possible. This is another interesting lineup. This is a very kind of boring lineup, or boring pairing, I should say. There you go. So I highlighted all the ones that I liked. Obviously, that's a no-brainer for some of these, because of how good they are. But to see some of those guys paired together, that was pretty interesting. I mean, I have no Daniel Berger, don't care, or Tony Finau, just don't care. But those were the Tea Time pairings. So I think when you do create lineups, this might be the last thing to look at, or it could be the first. It's the last thing to look at. Like I said, if I'm like stuck trying to find someone to fill in a gap or whatever, I will look at everyone in that group and be like, okay, I'm adding that guy, or I'm adding this guy, you know, kind of along those lines. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep this or not, but I really like some of these lineups, honestly, and I don't mind how this all turned out right here. I don't really think I'm gonna go all in like I did during the WGC event. In a way, I was a little disappointed that I wasn't on the right guy. Like I did like I like JT. There were 4 golfers above 10K, and I knew one of them was gonna win. I just went all in on 2 of them that just didn't happen to be JT. So didn't work out, but it was still a good process nonetheless. I think I'm gonna stick with this because I am really interested to see lineups like this start out, you know, and having 7,700 just to work with, to me is awesome. So yeah, with that, that's where I'm gonna leave it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys got some useful information from it, and hopefully I didn't stray too far off track. But anyways, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and good luck this week. All right, bye.